Japan's mended and patched textiles are referred to as boro, or ragged, both in Japan and abroad. Boro textiles are usually sewn from 19th and early 20th century rags and patches of indigo-dyed cotton. The diversity of patches on any given piece is a veritable encyclopedia of hand-loomed cotton indigo from old Japan. In most cases, the beautiful arrangement of patches and mending stitches is born of necessity and happenstance, and was not planned by the maker. Imagine that Boro textiles were stitched in the shadows of farmhouses, often at night by the light of one dim andan, on the laps of farm women. This unself-conscious creative process has yielded handmade articles of soulful beauty, each of which calls upon to be recognized and admired as more than the utilitarian cloth they were intended to be. Danja is a huge night blanket that looks like a large padded kimono. Unlike normal night blankets or other large padded kimonos that are usually light and made of cotton, danjas are heavy and made out of worn-out cloths layered onto one another. Thick and rough quilted cloths were used for a danja surface, and many layers of hemp-made fabrics were used for the backside surface for every extra increment of warmth, and stitched up with hemp thread. The winters of the northern prefectures are severe, and cold could take lives if one was not prepared. In poor households during pre-war days, this threat was even greater. Spreading straw on the floor, laying a boro carpet on it, family members could finally go to sleep by wearing this thick danja. Danja is to be used as family. The father or mother would be in the middle, and the children beside them. Children would sleep naked, holding on to their parents, inside danja. In Aomori Prefecture, there were sheeting cloths called bodo, or bodoko, which were made by the technique of sewing many pieces of hemp and cotton cloths from the clothing once worn by ancestors of generations and generations. Bodoko were used as sheets to lie on during the night, spread over the straw or dry leaves on the floor, and oftentimes were also used during childbirth as the sheet for the baby to be delivered on. Receiving the baby with the multi-layered cloths which had been once worn by long-dead ancestors was literally to carry the message to the baby that they were not delivered alone. Although bodoko were oftentimes used as a sheet for child delivery, in areas where cloths were important, people kept using bodoko for their daily life. Made in the late Taisho to the early Showa period, 1912 to 1925, sashiko garments or work clothes were mainly worn in farming and mountainous villages as festive wear, while new long-length sashiko were worn as leisure wear. Sashiko garments are made by quilting 2 or 3 pieces of cotton cloths onto cloth-made hemp. People embroidered unique designs on the sleeves, hems, and backs, making good use of the original cotton patterns. Some regions call it sakiori, for they once made their worth clothing using the threads acquired by tearing, saki, their old clothes. Kimono slips were for summer use. Even after cotton had spread widely, hemp threads were still woven in as it eliminated the sweat from the clothes. Some garments incorporated a quilted and embroidered tapestry technique, where white cotton threads are deliberately sewn into navy blue fabric. Used as a raincoat and a warm jacket, this garment was made with utmost care by a man for his future wife. While the readily available nature of cotton has made boro obsolete today, the patchwork tradition has lost none of its cultural significance and appeal. It wasn't long ago that Boro's Japanese rural cloth look found its way into the design house of Louis Vuitton and other well-known brands. Today, there are several Japanese fashion designers incorporating pieces of Boro textiles in their clothes, upcycling indigo-dyed cotton clothing as old as 150 years. In addition to incorporating Boro fabrics in jeans, jackets, shirts, vests, and dresses, ties, bags, rucksacks, and scarves, and even pocket squares are all handmade using decades-old indigo-dyed cotton and hemp Boro fabrics. These designers are breathing new life into fabrics that have stood the test of time. The repair work on these materials tells the story of their life, and reconstructing them into contemporary pieces helps them live on. Wear them, love them, and hand them down. Wearing Boro allows anyone to add another chapter to the story of this ancient fabric. While in Kyoto, we traveled to the Nishin weaving district, to the lovely old traditional home and garden of the 5th generation gold leaf artisan Hakuya Noguchi. Noguchi-san is part of a collaborative process of using his family's age-old technique of applying gold, silver, and platinum leaf and lacquer to Japanese washi paper. The gold paper is cut and woven with silk to create luxurious kimono obi, for which Kyoto is famous.
Work is to make the material of these plates.
For the background only. So this is all gold leaf. You see this?
You can see
oh yes.
Okay.
thread.
Yes.
Not spiral, but pavement.
Okay, so it's flat.
Flat
Okay.
thread.
Now, this is.
You can see this side is paper.
This is paper.
Paper.
This is paper.
Oh my goodness.
Which has been, which lacquer has been applied to it, and then gold leaf or other kinds of precious metals have been applied to that lacquer. The lacquer is actually an adhesive. Interesting. 野口さん、ちょっといろんなケースがあると思うんだけど、でも一番ベーシックケースはやっぱり織屋さんが、のお客さんが注文はどうなんですか？
まあお客さんのそうですよね、好みがこれに最後は私のここへ来るわけですが。
Okay, so let's say. That's why nobody ever gets to see this. Even Japanese have no idea. Most Japanese do not have any idea how these things are made.
How it's made.
Because no one has ever been able to come up into this gold leaf artist workshop.
At his studio and museum, we saw how Noguchi-san designs obi with gold leaf. He uses gold leaf and other metals for different colors. The pieces of gold or silver leaf are made by putting a small piece of precious metal under a paper and pounding it thin. It ends up this size. He uses brushes made out of women's hair. This block of wood has tightly packed hair running through the entire thing. He sharpens it like a pencil as it wears down. He uses tweezers and tools to gently maneuver the leaf into place. He often uses his breath to move it ever so slightly. In this picture, the ovals in the design on paper will end up as circles on the obi. Noguchi-san has to adjust the design for the elongation that will happen as it is woven. This finished obi with precious metals started out as a design on paper similar to this. This one in the picture has been sent out to a master cutter who cuts the paper, impressed with metal, into threads. He leaves the border uncut. That way, the threads stay in the correct order for the design. The weaver takes the threads one by one and weaves them into an obi. Reiko Sudo is one of Japan's most influential contemporary textile designers. She is managing director of Nuno, founded in 1984. Nuno, which means fabric in Japanese, combines the Japanese handcraft tradition with advanced technologies and remarkable creativity, which, over the past 30 years, has led the company to the forefront of innovation in textile design, creating products of extraordinary ingenuity and beauty.
Textile I designed since 1984. You can see all of the textile design came from very simple supplies from your daily life. So you can see small like rusted nail from a house or a street, and we can use those elements to make a new textile. So I hope you can enjoy all the textile idea came from very, very simple appreciation of the daily life.
Inspired by the look of rubber bands on a magazine in a sunny window, Nuno devised a process using resin dyed to the color of rubber bands and applied to cloth in the right thickness through a silk screen process. Silk is woven with pockets. The computer-driven looms must be stopped every few minutes to allow the hand placement of feathers in the pockets. This is a combination of traditionally inspired shibori tie-dye and a modern heat-based pleating process to create an entirely new concept, shibori with pleats. Inlayering. Here silk organdy is shot through with strips of traditional handmade Japanese washi paper. In this textile, wool has been embroidered into polyester. For this, Nuno used an industrial process for converting recycled plastic PET bottles into felt for shoulder pads and linings. Instead of plastic, however, they use comfortable raw wool and alpaca. The process involves applying high-pressure water jets and needle punching to create a stronger bond. Then they add leftovers from their own huge stock of Nuno textile scraps to form what they call terrazzo felt. Inspired by the way rust stained white work clothes, and after considerable trial and error, they sandwich iron plates between 2 layers of rayon, cover it with a blanket, electric blanket in winter, and then let it sit for 2 days. They then rinse off the fabric and the rust is set into the cloth. Unstructuring is a process where the threads of a 4-layer cotton weave have been removed by pulling out either the warp to expose the weft or the reverse. Here, newspaper is dipped into liquid plastic, then heat bonded to polyester. Burnt out begins with a layer of rayon that has been quilted to a layer of polyester. The cloth is randomly coated with a chemical resist. Acid is applied, and the parts of the rayon not protected by the resist are burned away. Slit washi paper is woven as the weft, together with a polyester warp, leaving considerable paper exposed. The paper is then hand-cut inconsistently to give it a varied look. To mark its 10th anniversary in 2015, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Tokyo sought the talents of Reiko Sudo, who used a light contemporary palette to refresh the guest rooms and lobby. In 2008, Sudo was appointed as a design advisor to Muji, the Japanese lifestyle brand much loved in Hong Kong. She later became a member of Muji's advisory board. Sudo says she has long admired the company's socially motivated philosophy of mottainai, don't waste. Muji was a pioneer in Japan in encouraging customers to purchase less than perfect products, such as broken but otherwise safe udon noodles that are repackaged and sold at a lower price. Muji has also been a longtime participant in the Fuku Fuku project, a nationwide effort by retailers inviting customers to drop off their unwanted clothes for recycling. Fuku means both clothing and happiness in Japanese. Sudo noticed that many of the clothes returned to Muji were perfectly wearable, and keen to avoid unnecessary waste, she suggested recoloring the donated clothes with indigo before selling the new garments in store. An indigo dye works in the famous denim center of Okayama Prefecture helped us here. We selected 3 beautiful tones of indigo for re-dyeing. After re-dyeing, each item is thoroughly checked and ironed before being displayed in the store as a Remuji product. Since starting the project, we have collected some 60 tons of clothes from around 350 Muji shops. We continuously sell out whatever we put in the store. It really has given the clothes a new lease of life, she says. The project may seem contemporary, but reflects traditional Japanese habits where old kimonos were often re-dyed to extend their life. The brand also made an extensive survey of artisanal and industrial dyers, and last year extended their thrifty approach to include reusing wool. Wool mills in Ikinomiya, Aichi Prefecture, are commissioned to repurpose the woolen items by hand, transforming scraps into creative new wool products, including hats, bags, and sweaters. Through these Remuji ventures, we're taking a closer look at the relationship between people, lifestyle, and textile, Sudo says. In a sermon, Buddha once said, "Never waste what has been given. Do not discard even the smallest scrap that can be used." This speaks to the heart of what I have always tried to do.